What's up, gamers? Koobs here. Tower Fantasy has been out on PlayStation for a little more than a week now, and I thought, why not make a video talking about my experience so far. I've been enjoying it for the most part, but certainly early days, so this will be sort of my first impressions, if you will. Not sure if this will be something that I play for the long term, but at the very least, maybe you can learn some things about whether or not this game is something that you'd want to get into yourself. Now, with this video, I plan to talk about the Gacha system. We'll talk about the story, exploration, combat. We'll talk about the good. We'll talk about the bad. We'll talk about the ugly. So, before we do all that, thank you so much for being here. You're awesome, and I appreciate you. And apparently I just got thrown in jail. So currently I've spent roughly 40 hours with the game, and 5 or 6 of which was on the PlayStation 4 version. I was on a PS4 Pro, and I've got to be honest and say that I did not have a great experience. A lot of issues with lag and with frame rate. Even some of the cutscenes in their rendering had some issues. So just all in all, it wasn't that enjoyable. If you're someone playing on PS4, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are, hopefully they can iron out some of those issues so that long term the game can be an enjoyable experience, but we'll have to see. Now, as for PS5, I've been fortunate enough recently to have gotten a PS5 for myself, and my experience on PS5 has been a night and day difference. Haven't had any issues with lag. Very rarely do I have issues with frame rate, even when it's a densely populated area with other players, and the cutscenes look pretty good for the most part. So again, in that regard, your experience may vary. Now, I know that spending that much time with the game, very early days, don't know what the future is going to entail as far as the endgame content goes and things like that. So again, I want to just reiterate that these are some first impressions, and maybe my opinion of the game will change over time. I did want to talk about the Gacha system here. So I do kind of like the system that they have in place as far as free-to-play goes. I've had quite a bit of luck myself, which is, that's just totally random, but it's been pretty easy to pick up the resource called Gold Nucleus just in exploring the world and playing the game. I think I've gathered probably about 195 altogether, and about 15 of those I did spend money on, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But as far as the SSR characters go and the weapons, so far they all seem really cool and interesting. They have pretty diverse moves, and each of them stands alone on their own as a powerful addition to your team. Again, it's going to be really kind of up to your luck if you get characters that you like. I have been able to get one SSR character from the Black Nucleus, which is a much more common currency that you can find when exploring the world. And I did want to mention that every 80th pull with the Gold Nucleus is guaranteed to be an SSR character. So you can kind of count on getting at least a couple throughout your playthrough. Maybe even more than that, depending on how many Gold Nucleus are out there for you to gather. Sometimes you get 2 at a time, 5 at a time, however it might be. Completing daily tasks and just logging in sometimes will grant you a couple of Gold Nucleus to spend. So I've gotten altogether, I think, about 6 different unique SSR characters. One of them was one that I got as a guaranteed, like I got to choose, but the rest have gotten from the Gold Nucleus pulls that I've been doing. I have gotten duplicates of one character. I think I've gotten 3 of the same character known as Nemesis and their weapon Venus, and luckily your character does get better when you have multiple pulls like that. I did also want to briefly mention that if you choose to start on a new server, you could actually make a new character. So if you don't really like the characters that you've gotten in your first 30 and 80 pulls, then just hop on a different server and see if you have better luck there. Now, any money that you have spent will not transfer to that new character, so keep that in mind. Now, talking about the money that I have spent, I had about 69 cents in my PlayStation wallet, and so putting $1 into the game was like 37 cents came out of my account. And with that, I was able to pick up 2 of the PlayStation exclusive packs, and that gave me in total, I think, about 15 gold nucleus. And then there's also these things called matrices, however you pronounce it, and I got about 15 of those as well. So that was worth it for me, but that's also kind of like the foot in your door technique. So be careful. It can be like a slippery slope. Oh, I just spent $1 here, I'll just spend $1 there, and then next thing you know, you're $1,000 in debt, you know? So the next thing I did want to talk about was some of the story. So far, it's been decent. Some of it's been good, some of it's been really bad. There's basically a starter world, and once you've gotten through the first bit of the starter world, you're going to go to this space station thing, and from the space station you can kind of skip some of the main story on that first world in order to go to the second world. I decided to go back to the first world and experience the story there. Some of it was not great. Some of it was just kind of boring, poorly written, and wasn't my favorite part of the experience so far. So I am still looking forward to some of the story that I have ahead of me. I hear that it gets better at the second and third world that you get to visit, and so we'll see in that regard. Exploration has been solid for the most part so far. There's tons of things out there for you to collect, so if you're the kind of person who likes checking things off of a list or off of a map, then that's going to be great for you. There's not a whole lot of density when it comes to the enemies, so sometimes it's just kind of boring out there. I don't really love the interface. Here I'm trying to jump off of this cliff and it brings up a different menu for me. Don't really love that. I think that they could probably find a different button to map that command onto rather than the jump button. I don't know what that button would be, but not jump. Yeah, whatever's happening here. He ran away, but he's still right there. So there's definitely some issues, here and there, some things that they could work on. Maybe they're not going to work on it. Issues like this right here, where I go to jump off of this edge and kind of put me back to where I was. Don't know what's going on there, but these are minor, in the grand scheme of things, but I did at least want to mention them. For a game that is free to play, there is tons of content for you to experience, and I think that that's certainly one of the things that Tower of Fantasy has going for it. I almost can't even keep up with some of the stuff that they're throwing my way as I continue to level up. They have done some sort of like time gating with leveling up so that you can't just like speed run the game. I think right now, before making this video, I was blocked at level 42, and so it seems like each day they'll kind of open up the level cap further, and so you can continue to progress through the game in that sense. That's okay, I guess. I think that like if somebody wants to pour more time into the game and level up, then they should be able to, but I also understand that they want to kind of keep things maybe on a more balanced playing field for different aspects of the game. Jury's still out on that one. If you were to come to this game in a couple of months from now, that'll probably be completely different, and so you'll have free reign to level up as you choose. Combat is definitely one of the strengths of this game. I've really been enjoying the combat. I think that it's a lot of fun. It's fresh, it's fluid. Each of the different characters has different moves, and so there's these different synergies that you can put together depending on what your party looks like. And there's a dodge mechanic, and if you dodge perfectly, if you time your dodge perfectly, then it does this, it's called a phantasm, and that big purple bubble that you just saw on screen, things slow down for the enemies, and you get to just kind of do a ton of attacks and things like that. That's been really cool and fun. I think that that's a really great concept that they're working with. Kind of rewards your skill in a sense, not that it takes a whole lot to nail the dodge, but it also just kind of rewards you for interacting with the game in a fun and fluid way. So combat's definitely a strength. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Now, while this game is free to play, it could be kind of seen as a pay to win. The more money that you put into the game, the more chances you have of pulling the SSR characters. especially when it comes to the limited banners, which come out for the newer characters. And it does seem like the newer characters are a little bit stronger or more powerful than some of the older characters are. And I think that's just kind of how things naturally play out. They want the new characters to be something for you to work towards and spend money on. So again, while it's free to play, they are definitely looking to make money off of this game. It's a game designed to make you continue playing the game. So those have been some of my thoughts. I have been and always will be Coops. Thank you again so much for checking out the video. Peace. And wait a minute, what'd you say? There's PvP? Oh, okay, well, let's go check that out then. Hope you don't mind if we spend another couple of minutes talking about one of my favorite parts of the game so far, the arena one-on-one PvP that I just discovered. Holy cow. Awesome, fast action, high flying, tight rope walking, nuts to butts, balls to the wall, hardcore gaming. Wow, look at this. This is anime at its core. Crazy. Get in the arena, go check out the PvP, because that's been a ton of fun. I spent a couple of hours last night doing PvP, getting in the arena. I had a lot of fun with it. So basically the way that it works is there are 5 SSR weapons that they give to all players. They make those available. So even if you don't have, you know, multiple SSR weapons of your own or good characters to work with, you get 5 to choose from. And then at the start of your matchup, you ban 2 weapons of your opponents. So you take 2 of those options away, and you can ban the SSR choices that they have in their own inventory. So there's kind of this strategy to it of like, okay, I want to remove this weapon because it's going to help them heal, or this is going to make them really tanky, so I want to take those off the board. Maybe I know that this one's going to do a lot of damage, so I don't want them to have that option. So there's a little bit of strategy that goes into it. And then you pick 3 weapons that you have available, and that gives you your loadout, your build for the specific duel, we'll call it, that you're going into. And then you just go in there and you mash buttons, gamer. Just spamming circle and triangle and pressing different directional buttons. You can bring in your relics, and the relics that I haven't really talked about yet are things like your jetpack, there's shields, there's a tornado device, different things like that. So you choose 2 of the relics, you bring those in. All of the weapons that you're using are maxed out to the highest level. So even if you're, for example, one of my favorite weapons so far is like 2 katanas called Heartstream, and you'll see it does this kind of ice attack. And even though I only have that at its base version, when I go into the arena, they give you the, I think it's like 5-star or 6-star version of that weapon. So the different weapons will have more capabilities than what you might be used to. So again, another element of like strategy and gameplay goes into it of like, okay, this weapon might not be great for me right now, but when I go into the arena, it's unlocked to its fullest potential. And so that might, you know, shake things up. Now they're calling it balanced PvP. I don't really know, you know, is it balanced? Is it when somebody that I'm going up against has, you know, if they've spent money on the game and they've got 10 SSRs to choose from, and I've got, you know, my, you know, 6, they just naturally have more choices to diversify their build. And so sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel as balanced as they'd like to make it seem. It also seems like when you are doing the banning phase, I've found that sometimes they get to pick a weapon that I didn't have the option of banning. And so again, in that sense, it's like if you have more choices for your particular character, then you're going to have more options even after the banning has taken place. So maybe not the most balanced sometimes, but still very fun and enjoyable in my opinion. Want to shout out to the gamer I'm facing off against here. They go by the name X-Ray, Seen X-Ray on YouTube here. They also make videos. I had one of their videos pop up in my recommended, checked it out, and I was like, wait a second, I recognize this guy in the orange jacket. I just fought him last night. So go check out his channel if you're a fan of Tower of Fantasy and you want to experience more content. They seem like a good dude. So shout out to you, X-Ray. Hope you're doing well, gamer. So yeah, that's that's kind of the gist of the video. Tower Fantasy, your experience and your mileage may vary. It might be something that you absolutely fall in love with and spend a lot of time playing. It might be something that you pick up for a couple of hours and you go, hey, this is not for me. I'm not going to be the decider of that. I've been enjoying it. It's something that I'll probably continue to play here and there. Probably hop on, most days, spend an hour with it or so, maybe a little bit more depending on how, immersed in the PvP I get, because that's been enjoyable for sure. But, it's a game. Go out and have fun gaming, gamer. I have been and always will be Coobs. Thanks once again for being here. I really appreciate you. Stay awesome. You're worth it. Peace and love, gamers.